Uh, Everyone, we're going to roll. So you see the reminder there of Blueprint, and we really hope to see you there and be able to talk about all this stuff in a deeper way. This session is a really unique one. This is talking about your team, building the team and building a strengths-based team, and we're going to build up. And at the end, Barry, we're going to describe a bold new way to design the team, like bold new of the past 30, 40 years, okay? As we go through it, obviously we have to stick to the Marcus Lemonis people process solution. So we're going to start a bit with the people. We'll get into that process, and then we'll go through that design. The key question you always ask, Barry, is why do we talk about this? So here's the what's at stake. You and I have been part of implementing hundreds of inventory solutions. The audience on here is either working with like a Blue Ridge system, or they're looking to do so. So in either case, we've got to treat them the same way. And for either one, everybody has more opportunity for extra results. And here's the thing. You and I walk into one place and they're seeing results of like a 10% inventory reduction. Then we go down the street, walk into another place, even with the exact same software, the exact same training, everything, they are seeing a 30% inventory reduction. And it's about how the people are aligned and about how they kind of take to this. So for starters, what we like to always do is say, what's the difference? What's at stake? So we are going to ask you to follow us. This is a really important story, and we want you not just to know it, but really be able to teach it back, right? Right. So Barry, I'm going to take through this. If I skip something, let me know. But here's what we're talking about. We're talking about an original company with 100 million in revenue, okay? 10 million in inventory, and they make from that 3 million in net profit. That's a 3% return on investment, as we show here. A number they don't think about much is the inventory return on inventory investment. So 3 million off of $10 million of inventory, that's a 30% return on inventory investment. But with a great strategy and a great system following that strategy, the inventory drops from 10 million to 7. And you and I have seen it and helped companies do it. They're still driving 100 million in revenue, but now they're making that 3 million off of 7 million in inventory. That's a 43% return on inventory investment. Okay, is that good so far to you?
That's good.
What do you do then with the saved $3 million? You reinvest it. You put it back into the business. You buy another business. You grow the business. You grow geographically. You open stores. Whatever you want to do, because that 3 million can now drive an additional 48 million plus in revenue, where they can make, because of this 43%, they can make almost 1.3 million in extra profit. So the end result is this. And this is why this slide you guys should want to share across your company. This company can now, with that same 10 million they started with, they can now drive a business of about 143 million, making about 4.3 million in profit at that 43% return on investment. This is so critical that it keeps the focus on the financial impact of what's going on.
It does. And you know what, Dan? It is so important to show this simply because we get caught in a trap where we say, we're just filling spots that are empty on the shelves of the warehouse.
That's right.
And it's so much larger than that. This is the picture. It's about impacting the bottom line of the company.
That's right. And that's why we say these are the savvy business owners. They're the investors of the business. So a quick view of what today's business owner investor ought to look like. You and I, when we bought, we didn't have these types of analytics, you know, working in conjunction with a great replenishment solution. But nowadays, these teams, they can see what portion of the inventory is new and how they're performing, what portion is profiled items versus non. They can see all of this information, and they can see where they're hitting service, where they're missing. And it's not just looking at your top items or your top vendors. It's really finding the key problems, and the savvy ones have this today, and that's so critical.
Yeah, and what I love about this, it's not just a simple snapshot. Historically, you can see where adjustments have been made, and you can really see the story unfolding right before your eyes.
That's right. We never had the history part now, and they have it now. So with all this capability, let's talk about what they ought to be able to do. first thing you do in this people process solution piece is, as you focus on the people, Barry, we're thinking of these areas. Now, we could do a whole session on this, but we're not gonna. But let's just hit this fast. If there's a company that's revamping their team, or they're realizing, wow, this solution we have now is so key, we need to upgrade what we're doing in the team. And I don't mean just people-wise, but I mean things like the name of the department. Right. So no more should this team be called just the purchasing department.
Yeah, they should be called something like the inventory investment team.
I like it. I like it. And with that in mind, then I am no longer what I actually was, Barry, which is like a rebuyer is a title.
Oh, that's a terrible name. I'm sorry, Dan. Yeah, out with that one and in with a name like inventory investment managers, inventory investment analysts.
Right. So then when you recruit, no more panic hiring, no more just grabbing the first resume so you can fill the hole.
Absolutely. You hire ahead of the need and make the position a career destination.
I like that. And then in terms of development, I think a lot of us used to just throw a user manual for a system at somebody. Those days are gone.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, there was a story we heard years ago that was, the scenario was, I'm going to ask a question of the people in my organization. And the question is this: what if we develop those people and they leave? So it gives a little fear in developing the person. But to counter that, the real question is, what if you don't develop the team and they stay?
Which happens a lot, and we see it all the time. So we're talking about a strength-based career, right? Now, here's a quote from the guy that did a really good podcast on Planning Post on forward buying, Paul Rose, key exec at Henry Schein. I love this quote. Every year, I'd have a chance to kind of go in and follow him and see what he would do. And I'll tell you the quote in a minute, but he would make sure his team can stand in front of you and basically pitch like this. They wouldn't just come in and say, I'm replenishing holes in the warehouse, like you said. You know, I manage an inventory portfolio of 8,900 items. My 8.5 million invested delivers 47 million in annual sales. I've been able to watch every one of his team members stand up in front of the top executives and present their business. That's a great vision for them to have. So with that in mind, we're going to go through quickly these building blocks, because that's going to lead to what we're talking about with this new model. Now, these building blocks are great. Barry, we're not going to cover all 7. We're going to cover the bottom 4 though, because these are all on the people side. So let's just do a slide or 2 on each, okay?
Okay.
Let's start with hiring. And on the hiring side, it goes like this. This is the main challenge we want to throw to you guys. And that is, as you hire, what is your blend of talent versus experience? Are you hiring talent that you can develop? Or are you just hiring experience that's been there? Barry, what have you seen change in the last 10 years for that question?
Oh, it's been unbelievable, the shift between experience and talent. It used to be, let's hire someone who has industry experience. Let's hire someone who has experience in the food service business or the food wholesale business, as opposed to now focusing on talent. And what that talent means is, what are their math skills? How about technology? Are they technology savvy? And do they have situational savvy? Also, do they have the ability to maybe lead the team one day? So it's looking for those things as opposed to just focusing solely on experience, either having been a planner or a buyer or having industry experience.
That's right. If we can have both, that's great. But if you can have one or the other only, we'll take talent over experience because we can work with them, which is why, and gang, as you listen to this one. So many companies now use a hiring assessment. And Barry, those words you just described, of course, that's what you're looking for. What are the math skills like? You know, can they do percentages? That doesn't come through in an interview always. What are the analytical skills? Do they run to technology or away from technology? This is what you're looking for, this group right here, for the next phase of what we're doing. Because if you have these folks, you have so much flexibility on where you go. So from the hiring, we'll actually go to one piece of the strengths-based, and that's this biggest block. You notice that's the largest block.
Yeah.
It's the largest block because we've always said it's the most important individual in this whole process. That's what we call the team champion. The team champion, not the manager, but the champion, that is normally somebody that is a blend that's come from the inventory analyst position, is not quite the leader of the whole team, although they could be, but is that person that is in between the two. They're helping, they're guiding, they're teaching. And as you look at this, it's a person that has to be comfortable going to lunch on Monday with this group, the management team, on Tuesday with this group, the inventory team, maybe on Wednesday with leaders from some other departments. They've got to be that flexible. As we look at these words, let's just both hit one. And I know which one I'm going for.
Okay.
I've always said that the champion is like the quarterback. That analogy doesn't go over well in Europe, but here it does. The quarterback. And if you have a franchise quarterback, like a franchise champion, the results they see are normally really strong. And the management team is so comfortable then that they have somebody doing the right stuff.
Yeah. You know, it's somebody who really just, they eat, sleep, drink this stuff. You know, that's really one way to describe it. But as far as the inventory team, it's tough for me to pick out just one on this list. And you know how tough it is when we were talking about pick one. But it's the coaching and mentoring. You know, I love the development side. And with the position of coaching and mentoring, not only is it exciting to see them start to grasp it, but to watch them grow through the years.
It is. So team listening out there, if you don't have a champion in place, it's something you want to go for. Planning Post has some good information on finding, developing that right champion. The coach is different than just a teacher. The coach is a pull the chair up kind of person. So Barry, if it's me and I'm the buyer and you're the champion and you're the coach, if you see that I have two vendors that look like this.
Yeah.
And here's what I'm showing. I'm showing a vendor. And by the way, I picked two vendors that have almost the same number of items. They both have about 320 items. But this one, I've got nice and balanced. But this one, and the size of the block is the volume of the item. What would you do if you sat down beside me and you saw that I had this going on?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's very clear that there's a disciplined approach and there's an undisciplined approach.
Okay.
So really the first thing you're going to ask is, how did we get in this position in the first place? You have to understand that, understand the method to the madness, so to speak. Secondly, how do we get out of this? What are the steps that we need to do to start making the improvements as we move forward? In other words, are we buying when the goods want to be bought, or are we buying based on noise or flexible or inflexible schedules and things like that? So you start working through the thought process that got you in this spot to begin with.
Yeah.
And then undoing that thought process to get you in the spot up top.
I think it's a great point. And I would think, you know, maybe you tell me, hey, when this pops up due, don't just buy it. Maybe you want me to call you over and let's really talk it through. Because this is the one where I've probably let it buy an extra 20 days to hit a bracket because it couldn't hit the bracket because all my volume is up here. And that's where the inventory just keeps topping off. So it's that type of thing that you described at what the champion does. It's one of the key roles of that champion.
Yeah, and it's amazing how much you can learn when you sit down next to someone and you let them go through their thought process with you.
Yeah, you understand what they're thinking, what they maybe don't understand. So then we roll to the development of the team. And again, we could spend a day here. And I promised this quote from Paul Rose. When he says this one, hey team, as a company, we will grow 10% this year. You will need to grow at least 10% just to keep up. How are you going to do it? Now, isn't that a great one?
I love that quote.
And I know you walk into a lot of places where you can probably tell how quickly if it's an atmosphere that is stagnant or if it's an atmosphere where they're all growing and they're all driven on their own to grow.
Oh, yeah, you know it right away.
You can feel it.
Yeah.
So because of that, we have this slide for everybody. It's a little bit busy, but we have the 7 essential elements of replenishment here, and that's critical. As we know, the best teams have this. Where do they have that? On the
On the
wall.
wall.
On the wall in canvas form real large, because every time you have a conversation or the coaching session that you and I just talked about, you want this in front of you. In terms of how you develop someone, these are the steps. Most people go through these 5 different components of training. And yes, you start with the core pieces, with just as simple as, how do you navigate the system? What buttons do you hit? Most software companies, Barry, they stop there, and that's not nearly enough, because this field is really unique. When you teach, what's your favorite one of all of these to teach?
Wow. That's a very tough question, and you know it is. While I love this champion session, I have to say that the one that really does it for me and has for years is that advanced session.
Yeah.
And it's really, that's the one that we've called for years, the I Get It seminar. And what's exciting about that session is you start seeing the questions become more meaningful, and you see the light bulbs going off because they already have a foundation.
Yeah.
And once they have the foundation and they kind of have, their footing set, they feel really good about asking the right questions, and they start seeing everything take place. And this is really where their mastery truly begins, because you can see it from the questions we have gotten through this session historically.
And I'm looking at our room here, and people keep adding into the group. So this is a great opportunity to say, hey everyone, take a look at your team, whether you're on an advanced system already or not. Take a look at your team. If you have 5, 10, or 25 analysts, how many of them are still up in this light blue area where they're really just navigators? And how many of them would you really say have their driver's license where you trust them? They know how the system thinks, they know what to do. And then how many of the group truly can solve their own problems, even without you as the champion, that mechanic's license?
Yeah.
And when they have that, if they love teaching people, then they can move on to this one. That's the beauty of this lineup.
Yeah, it is. And remember, guys, everyone learns at a different pace, and that's okay. It's okay that you learn at a different pace. Some are going to be quicker to get to the advanced than others. Nothing wrong with that. That is perfectly fine. But you want to make sure they're asking the right questions and they're understanding why they are doing what they're doing once they start getting a little further down on this education tree.
So even if you don't have their test scores from these, you can look and say, how many do I think are here, here, and here? And that really gives you a lineup of what you need to do in the coming months to develop. Very helpful. The final piece to these 4, Barry, is the blue chip practice. This is really our chance to talk about the process, isn't it?
Yes.
The process. And we said up front, we'll share the basic, but we're going to really challenge everybody with a bold new idea of an organizational design. But remember, starting with the basic, we have the 7, elements, the 7 essential elements of replenishment here. Everyone needs to know them. What we really want to do is say, how do you want to do it? If you have 10 people, do you want all 10 doing all those same things? That's the typical layout. That's what most companies do and have done. But there's some new ways to do it. There's some new specialization ways, and that's what we're going to get into. To do that, we have to tease them a little.
Yeah.
We can't just show the new design. We have to first focus on the strengths of people. Now, we don't have 12 minutes extra, but if we did, we would show this very good video. And we're going to suggest that you guys go out there very soon, go onto YouTube and look for Marcus Buckingham and just put in Marcus Buckingham strength-based, and this will pop up. A few of his things will pop up, but you will see this one. It is an outstanding 12-minute introduction into all of the benefits of having a strengths-based team where people get to do what they're good at, what they're passionate about, and how much better that works, and how much better the year-end or the occasional reviews are. Please watch it, but we will tell you that a lot of it comes from the foundation of this. You and I have done these DISC personality sessions, Barry. They normally go between an hour and an hour and a half. We have about 2 minutes. Hey, we can still hit a highlight, right?
Sure.
A lot of these guys have done this before. They've done it with the colors, maybe with the animals, maybe Myers-Briggs, whatever. Most people do have a main style and a secondary style. And whether that style is dominant or that influential person that's kind of the not just the life of the party, but the person that connects everybody to each other, or that steady individual that you can just count on with their routine, or that precise, conscientious individual. Mm-hmm. Again, somebody could be not just dominant, but they could be dominant with conscientious, or they could be dominant with the influential. That's a whole different skill set, and you can utilize them then in different ways, which is great. Just even using these different, individual, stars that we know is really helpful. The top group is faster paced, and they prefer new projects, new challenges. The bottom group is a little bit more slower paced, and they prefer consistency. They want to live in the same place, maybe drive the same car a long time. It's really interesting that these two have similarities, and these two have similarities, but also these two come together and are relational. These are relational individuals, even though this one's faster paced, this one's slower paced. And over here, these are task oriented, faster paced, slower paced. So you start to get that feel. And then for us, we start to say, well, where do you use them? Because we see them in the inventory area all the time. This conscientious person, by the way, Barry, this is the #1 style in our profession. We've done enough of these, and we have hundreds to measure. Our profession, this is the #1 style of our profession, even though they can be this plus this and so forth.
That's right.
But they thrive at that consistency, performing the same task over and over. And really, in our profession, you have to come in and knock out those orders and do that stuff. But not everybody loves that. So those influential people that can occasionally get bored and then get sloppy, you've got to give them projects. You've got to give them new things, challenges, some people-oriented things. Let them go network, let them coach. The steadies, they also want relational connections, but they also just want that consistency as well. And then when you have a problem that's unsolved, that dominant loves it when you come in and say, we've all tried to fix it, we can't, you fix it. They want to fix what's broken, and they want to be the star. And they really want to do it on their own, not in a team. This person wants to do it in a team. To know this stuff is so critical. It's not just for hiring and putting them in the right place. It's really for knowing how to challenge them as they grow, how to guide their career. I can't imagine running a department without knowing the people side of this stuff.
No, that's right. I mean, we talked a moment ago about coaching and being a mentor, and to truly connect with someone, you have to know their style. Yep. So if you are in a spot where you're coaching and mentoring, knowing their style is going to help you deliver a way where they're going to be receptive.
That's right. That's right. We have a ton of people on the line right now, and they're from all these different styles. I know a guy in Wisconsin, he's more of the steady style, but he connects well with lots of different people. This is a group, by the way, this is an inventory team that they hired about 5, I think, superstars right about the same time. I've removed their name, Barry, from the top. But these are their styles, and they have some that were pretty balanced right here. There's a couple of people that are pretty balanced through the 4. Mm-hmm. Then you have some with more of the extreme, a couple of perfectionists, and they've learned how to take advantage of those perfectionists and use them for the right projects. Then they have one that's more that I style, and it's really a great team. And this is a team, by the way, 25 buyers. They all know each other's styles, so there's no awkward nature. And they all go to each other and say, I probably need you on this. Or they'll look at a team they've put together and they'll say, it's unbalanced. We've got to fix it. We've got to adjust it. And then what it really sets companies up for, Barry, is this. It's this bold new process we're talking about. Are you ready to cover this?
I'm ready.
So I know you like sports analogies.
Love them.
We've used football analogies a lot. We've used baseball, right? Especially with Moneyball. Basketball, but there's a sport that has not gotten its due in analogies, and I think we all know what it is, and that is curling. Maybe Wisconsin folks, they are, but here's the thing. In the sport of curling, it's so similar to our world. If I have 10 buyers, 10 analysts, are all 10 doing the same thing like this? They all do their replenishment, they all do their forecasting, they all maintain their buying multiples, their lead times. If they all do everything, that can work, especially with a really good champion coaching them all through. But when you get to something like that, what about the opportunity for these individuals. Because in this sport of curling, you have these individuals, Barry, that when this person sends the stone down, notice I said stone, I'm pretty knowledgeable about the sport. When they send that stone down, they've got these individuals that manage just their one piece, and they're scraping and scraping, and they're helping these leaders nail it. So it kind of looks like this. You've got this person sends the stone down. You've got these what we call component owners. So here's a replenishment owner. We see these as component owners that are managing the components and really helping the replenishment owner see a level of success they've never seen before. So imagine this, 10 different replenishment owners. Are they all going to be equally as good at seasonal forecasting, at managing buying multiples? What if one person is fantastic with all the right tools at managing buying multiples, or another person just at managing forecasts and slow movers and seasonality? What if they work that and they work in a matrix and they work together co-owning? What we're seeing is a level of success that we've never seen before, because the tools are there now to see all the numbers and to see what's going on. So it kind of ends up very looking like this. Let's take a second look at this. You've got this situation. You've got the replenishment owner. You've got this individual. They're monitoring seasonal success. They're adding profiles. They're monitoring slow mover success. Where are they missing? There are certain patterns to the miss. They try things. They work with each person. They see, you know, maybe 8 of the 10 are doing well, 2 aren't. Is it a coaching thing, or is there really an adjustment to their product or to their system that they need? Then you have a lead time person that's working that and coordinating with the DCs. Similar on the order cycle side. And gang, here's what we're seeing. We're seeing companies that are saying, okay, we had one person, we had a champion that was kind of doing this across, and then we added a second champion. And we realized that we're doing really component ownership. So Barry, think of this. Imagine a champion or a component owner that says, I will manage lead times and order cycles because they're operational and I'll interact with the DCs or stores. Then somebody else does forecasts and service goals because they're more merchandising. And that's a whole kind of different side. If I have 2 people, that's how I would break them down.
Yeah, and each style is going to fit maybe better with operations versus merchandising.
Yeah.
I mean, this is really a view of collaborative specialization.
It is. It is specialization. It is working across with each other. It's coming alongside the replenishment owners saying, let's look at this dashboard together. Here are some obvious adjustments needed to buying multiples. I suggest we do these. What do you see? And that replenishment owner always says, makes sense, but I got 1 or 2 that I know something you don't. Great. That's why we work together on it.
Right.
So the results we're seeing as companies specialize and do this is really strong, and it's really compelling. And here's the beauty. You don't have to start all or nothing. You can have one champion person that's working all of these. You could go from 10 people all doing the same to 9 doing the same and 1 doing all, to 8 doing the same and 2 doing these, or to 6 doing the same and 4 being these experts at these areas with all the right tools. They get out of their seat. They work outside the department. They connect with other specialists and other companies. And that's what we're doing as we hold these camps now with these specialists. And it's really a game changer. And nowadays they have the dashboards to do all that. So now this picture looks a little bit more like this, doesn't it? Replenishment owners are still doing their thing. The component owners are coming along, scraping, refining, adjusting, some big bold changes, some little small changes. And there's so many things they can do. There's so much data now that shows us what's what. When you look at that picture, does that make sense to you?
Makes sense to me. And again, we'll go back to the word specialization. Specialization does not mean working in a silo, and this does it then. It
No.
means being focused, being an expert in a common area, demand forecast, lead time, order cycle, service level, or some others, and being collaborative in your approach with the replenishment owner.
So just so that everyone knows, we are having conversations every week with companies that are taking steps towards this. And what's nice is you can take steps towards this without going from an all one way to all another way. And as we have discussions, some great ideas have come up. One of them is you can get into a great rotation. So I could be the lead time leader for 6 months. Then I move and I become the order cycle leader for some time. And over time, I'm getting so much strength in these areas that it really boosts my value to the company, my resume personally. And then you can see if certain replenishment people want to also jump in the mix and play some of these roles. What we normally find, though, Barry, is the strengths-based thing. Some want to come in and do the same thing every day. And then some of the personality styles with a little bit more of the flexibility that want to do more projects, they are winding up into these roles, which really gives everybody great career paths in our loved profession.
Yeah, it's playing to the strengths of the people and understanding what those personality styles are that fit with their strengths and blending it all together.
So then just a quick example. If I'm a component owner and I have an area, and maybe it's new items, maybe it's profiled versus non. If I look at my team and I see that, wow, this person has, half of their inventory profiled. This person has a couple of percentage points of the inventory profiled. I realize I've got some coaching to do. I want to make sure this person's doing a great job and seeing success. I want to make sure the others, like this individual that maybe hasn't bought in yet, I need to sit with that person. I need to pull in and line up some education. Especially nowadays, Barry, there's some great online video education.
Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah, I hear that too. If you can take the voice, that's the key. Barry is a voice on these terrific Blue Ridge-based educational videos. So with this, as the component owner, I look and say, okay, I know what I need to do next. I know what my next couple of weeks, are going to be comprised of. So it's a bold new style, everyone. We want you to think about it. Think about how it can fit. Think about the fact that you can start slowly. And as you jump in, especially at Blueprint, it's a great time to talk to some other companies, see who else is doing it, try some things, and keep those connections going. This brings us back to the closing piece, Barry. These are the building blocks of great. We focus today on the bottom 4 because they're all on the people side. As you get the right people in the right positions with titles that not only empower them, but inspire them, not only will this team move to the center of the company, as we always talk, but they will make sure the analytics piece gets stronger and stronger. They'll take that and turn it into a great communication piece. And then as you do it, you're bringing a great financial tone to everything. So team, as you're looking at this, think about these building blocks. Many companies have used this to say, where do we have an A grade? Where do we have a B grade, a C grade? And what do we need to do next? And as you do this, here's what's going to happen. You'll be in a position to take a world-class solution, because you could never accomplish this with an ERP type of module or just an Excel spreadsheet. This puts you in a position to take a world-class, best-in-class inventory solution and not only use it, but make sure you're seeing these results and not these. And the companies that see these results, they're doing all the stuff that we just talked about. Makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What a great profession. Why would you want to be anywhere else? People in sales have no idea what they're missing. So in a second, we want questions to come forward. We want to watch for those, and we want to remind you also, not only of Blueprint, if you haven't booked your seat yet, always a great event, but the next session, we're really going to focus hard on these leaders and the champions and how you coach, how you teach and how you don't. Barry, do you remember the first time you taught somebody how to use the system?
Oh yeah.
How bad were you?
I will never forget it ever. And I was terrible.
I was terrible. We're all terrible, even though we know our system well. So we love teaching people how to teach, how to coach, what to do, and really what not to do. That next session is March 5th. Tune in. And also a reminder, there's some great sessions recorded that they can go back and review out there in planning posts. And now we want to throw it out. I know Brian always has questions. He gets a little confused. And others as well. And so let me see if we have our chat window available. Where would that be? Do you see it? Oh, the chat. There we go. Okay. Here's a couple of great questions. This is from Terrell Harris. What are the technical skills that you would advise those in purchasing to work on? For example, SQL, Python, statistics. Wow, that's a great question. I'll do a quick one, and then you go deeper because you know, especially the SQL and Python and so forth.
Sure.
But I love the fact that they're going that direction. Now, we want math skills. So many inventory teams have been hiring lately from math departments, and they do great. It's amazing how well they do. There's a lot of classes online for analytics as well, math analytics. Those are key. So many people, you know, these analytics tools are the new version of Excel. They don't all have to know how to program them because so many are drag and drop. But Barry, what would you do beyond that if somebody wanted to go deeper with what they're asking about there?
Well, first of all, I would say this, in terms of understanding the technical side of things, understanding where the data is coming from. Because you can know SQL, but if you don't know where the data is coming from, then it's really difficult to put it all together. So I would say start with understanding the structure of information that is coming from a host system into your replenishment solution. Once you start there, then you can start, you know, taking apart whether it's SQL or any type of analytics and reporting on top of that data.
I love the direction because we've been saying we would not hire anyone in the future that doesn't either know or have the strong ability to be strong at analytics. Years ago, not everybody knew Excel, and you'd have one person in the department that knew it. Now everybody has to know it. Yeah. Same thing with these analytical tools. They've got to be able to use it. If they're intimidated by them, they're not going to perform in the way you want. You're not going to be able to build the team you want.
No, you're not. And a lot of what you're focusing on in terms of the tool to use, you know, SQL is a common one based on the databases that are out there that are cloud-based. And yeah, that is a great one to focus on because once you build up the knowledge of the information that's coming in, then you really become an extremely valuable person to not only the planning team, but then that starts to proliferate throughout the organization.
Hey, Barry, Maria's asking about the slides. Her office is about 2 miles from here, and it's on your way home, so you can just drop them off on the way. No, well, Andrew, we're going to make sure, I know you have a copy of these slides. Really, this session is going to be out there for everyone. She'll make sure that that's out there for everyone. Maria probably has a lot of these, and Barry, you can make sure that.
Yeah, we'll make sure you're taken care of there, Maria.
And there's a good question also. You know, you've got departments that aren't 5 or 10 or 25 people. Some are 1 or 2 people, and it doesn't mean you can't do some of the same stuff. It's really then using the analytics. Here's something we like to say. If somebody walked into the department and said, you are starting in 30 days, you are no longer going to be able to review orders. Everything is going on auto accept. That might throw you into a panic for a little while. We'll give you a day to panic and then 29 days to prepare. What you would have to do then is that you'd have to use these tools and be a component manager to really watch and refine components so that you're comfortable that the replenishment happens automatically. That's really the type of thing we're after. And even if you're 1 or 2 people, that's the mindset. If you don't have time to get through it, then you shouldn't be a 1-person department. It's got to be a couple because there's so much opportunity you're probably leaving. And I'm sure it's frustrating when you walk out the door and you know, oh, I could have done all kinds of merchandising things and I didn't have time to get to it.
Yeah, and we have companies that we work with that are, you know, 2, 3 people in a department, and you know, they break it out just like you're talking about, Dan. But here's the point: they not only break it out in a way that they can dissect it, but they start using the foundation. And the foundation is, you know, we'll go back to those 7 essential elements. Where do I start first? Where are the problem areas? And once you start there, you know, you start with your forecast and your lead times, and then you can really start to break it apart. Everything that is driving what a replenishment order that Dan was talking about a moment ago, everything that's driving that replenishment order, you need to have focus on so that you can get those orders out if they were to go automatic.
Yeah, so Maria is also asking, where do I get a report where she can see something that kind of shows the I manage information? So Maria, when you're on your system, on the analytics piece, look for something called the inventory income statement. There's other things similar to that, and that lets somebody, you know, put in their buyer ID, and it shows all of those numbers that we just talked about. And once they can see that, they want to know them so that they can recite them in the hallway when somebody says, tell me about your business. So look for, even just put in the words income statement with a space in between. Okay. By the way, the one person apartment thing, just getting the time, these reports, the filtering is key. So in days past, you didn't have the ability to filter and really be able to quickly see where the problems were. And that's where the analytics now are such a huge help in every area where you should be able to hit that stuff. So you're not just hitting one dashboard, you could hit 5 or 10. These are some good questions. None from Brian, but they're all good, all the rest of them. Hey, one more thing I want to mention, and that is, don't be surprised as you use these analytics more and more. Your team, especially for the wholesale companies, your team could very well become the center of the company for analytics information. Once you start pushing out information, they'll come to you and say, oh, that's great. Can you give us this? Can you give us this? We are seeing that happen almost everywhere. Somebody says, can I load in this spreadsheet and also get this stuff? So very often the inventory team is also becoming the analytics expert team, which is great. Keeps you in the center of the organization.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, what I was talking about a moment ago with the question on learning technology, whether it's SQL or Python or some of those things in the background. That's it. Once you build up expertise in the systems, especially on the replenishment side, you build up that expertise, then naturally you are going to provide answers. You're going to help people do their jobs better. And when you're able to do that, then that starts to grow throughout the company. So it's a position really of value.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Maria wants a little guidance on finding hers. We'll jump in later on and do what we can to help.
Yep. Yeah. We'll help you out there, Maria.
All good. She has some good questions. I'm sure she'll be at Blueprint. We need some good dancers at Blueprint. Everyone, we're at that time, and we appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate you boldly pushing forward and thinking new ways of doing this stuff. There is a lot of profit still to gain, and all of these things point to that. So thanks for tuning in. Look at the other stuff, the previous sessions. We'll see you next month, and we will see you at Blueprint as well.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in with us, guys.
Thanks all.